With the recent ban on TikTok and other Chinese-owned apps, it's clear that the committee is not backing down from its mission. But what exactly is this committee, and what does it mean for the future of the CCP? How will this impact other Chinese-owned companies operating in the US? These are just some of the questions we're going to be exploring in this very video. The Chinese Communist Party's greatest concern for 2023 is that its biggest fraud will be exposed. Which scam is it, you ask? The idea that the CCP and China are equivalents, that to love the one is to love the other, and that to hate the CCP is to discriminate against Chinese people. The former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who was despised by the CCP, was finally ousted on January 7, 2023. But her replacement, Republican House Leader Kevin McCarthy, is even more outspoken and critical of the CCP. Since the 118th US Congress took office, heavyweight policies have been implemented over the past few days. On January 10th, it voted 365 over 265 to create a special committee. Democrats assert that the committee will incite racial hatred against Chinese Americans. In his message, the committee's first chairman, Republican US Representative Mike Gallagher, said that in order to defeat the Chinese Communist Party, Congress must unite behind a single front. To do this, we must always draw a distinction between the party and the Chinese people, with whom we have no beef and who are frequently the CCP's main victims. Gallagher appreciates Speaker McCarthy for taking the initiative to form a special committee to guarantee bipartisanship in light of China's aggression, its economic might, and our particular economic entanglements with it in the present. An even greater diplomatic challenge for the United States comes from the Chinese Communist Party. Since the Trump administration, the United States has made it apparent that the CCP is distinct from China, with former Secretary of State Pompeo regularly emphasizing that the CCP is not the same as the Chinese people, and that the US-China dispute solely involves the CCP. The deliberate reference to a strategic rivalry between the United States and the Chinese Communist Party in the name of the special committee this time shows that the US Congress has carried on and developed the previous administration's philosophy of drawing a distinction between the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese people. It's simple for some Americans to say, well, you know, that's pretty far away, so why should we care? To which he replied, who cares if China becomes the dominant power in Asia? The special committee chairman, Mike Gallagher, responded, what happens in China would not stay in China either. The CCP's ambitions are the triumph of world socialism with Chinese characteristics, implying that failure is the extreme domain. In the United States' defense of Taiwan, he stated that he wished to concentrate on the Communist Party's global influence project. He also brought attention to two seemingly unimportant issues. The subject of Chinese communist police stations on American soil was also brought to our attention. For instance, banning TikTok is related to the larger issue of cross-border data flows. According to Gallagher, the committee intends to hold a number of hearings on how Americans misunderstand China and our misconceptions of the Chinese Communist Party, how those misconceptions should affect future policy, and hear from the victims of the CCP regime. The hearings for TikTok. When asked if he intended to summon Disney CEO Bob Iger or NBA President Adam Silver to testify before the committee in a January 11th interview with Hugh Hewitt, he replied that the committee would be ready to issue subpoenas if necessary. In response to criticism leveled at both Iger and Silver in recent years, Gallagher was direct and he said, yes, I intend to do that. By towing the CCP, they have effectively imposed communist censorship on American soil. Iger, who recently took over as CEO of Disney again, is anticipated to visit China in the near future in an effort to improve the company's relationship with the CCP. The Chinese technology business ByteDance owns the social networking program TikTok, which allows users to share brief videos. The possibility that the Chinese Communist government will want user data from ByteDancing raises concerns for national security in the US. This data may include passwords and other sensitive information that will give them access to not only the TikTok app, but other apps also used by the device, such as email, text messages, e-health apps, and more. The software collects user information such as keystrokes, takes screenshots every few seconds, and accesses data from the phone's clipboard. All this according to an analysis of various versions of TikTok. According to CCP law, data is categorized as a national resource, and majority-owned Chinese enterprises are required to turn over all data, including confidential source code and other intellectual property, to the CCP authorities upon request. Due to concerns about national security, the US Congress, the Department of Defense, various federal agencies, state governments, corporations, and several governments in other countries have all banned TikTok from their devices. US lawmakers have publicly condemned the company's ties to the CCP through its parent company, alleging that the company is gathering data on Americans for the communist regime. Only Wisconsin and New Jersey, two Democratic states, have not banned TikTok on government-owned devices. The FBI is now running targeted social media ads, asking Chinese Americans to report CCP abuses. Have you ever been the victim of cyberstalking or cyber harassment? Since December 28, 2022, the Greater Philadelphia Advertising Campaign has targeted people aged 25 to 44. They say that the Chinese government may crack down on transnational harassment, assault, extortion, blackmail, and harassment via Chinese social media platforms like WeChat. This looks like to be a part of a bigger FBI operation to terminate a CCP-led international crackdown on 12 key transnational racial crimes. 10 involve China's one-party authoritarian communist rule. Florida Republican Senator Rick Scott wrote to FBI Director Christopher Wray on January 13th to urge action against these intrusions of American sovereignty and to collaborate with the State Department to identify Communist Police Party stations worldwide. In the fall, FBI counterintelligence officers raided the Fujiancheng Law Guild building in Chinatown, New York, according to sources quoted by the New York Times on January 12th. The police station's FBI raid was the first. The human rights NGO Safeguard Defenders reported that officials in Ireland, Canada, and the Netherlands are pushing Beijing to halt police activity in their countries while they gather proof. Chinese police have 102 overseas service centers. The Chinese embassy in Washington has again dismissed the foreign police stations as volunteer organizations that help Chinese nationals renew their driver's license. Since the CCP will suffer a major setback, we expect the new committee to act in these areas. Covetous investigation comes before the Republicans intend to start. This Congress examines 5 topics, including COVID-19's origins. The border issue and viral origin research are most likely to gain unanimous approval, followed by protecting American businesses and agriculture from communist invasion. Bipartisanship may prevent achieving the other 4 political goals. Republican Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert claimed that China was encroaching on America by stealing trade secrets and buying large tracts of land in her district. Third, promote industrial chain movements. Democrat Rep. Josh Gottheimer stated that his problem solvers will oppose the Chinese Communist Party's affordability push. Tax cuts aid the opioid and mental health crisis, pay off debt and safeguard seniors from scams. The domestic American industry boosts police enforcement and veterans. On January 10th, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce supported the creation of such a committee, arguing that Beijing must be held accountable for its unfair business practices, economic coercion, and dangers to American national security and values. The China Committee's bills to fight the CCP are vital in a divided America. It has civil society and cross-party support. The Special Committee on Strategic Competition between the US and the Chinese Communist Party should push relevant American parties to analyze China and Sino-US relations, move in the same direction as the Chinese side, and objectively and logically act in the US's own and both sides' interest to promote a mutually respected peaceful coexistence and a win-win cooperation in Sino-US relations. Communist media Global Times' top story on January 12th denounced the US House of Representatives' new committee as a show of might against China. The report cited the committee as proof that US Congress members from both parties were plotting a new Cold War against China. More than 95 million Chinese communists and 1.4 billion Chinese people will reject any attempt to separate from the CCP. The CCP derives its power, bloodline, and roots from the people. The party and the people are intertwined, reads a commentator's piece in the CCP Central Committee's latest media. CCP leaders and government advisors say that the Chinese Communist government is drafting a policy to reset China's economy and mend seriously degraded diplomatic ties because pressure from all sides, economic, social, and diplomatic, has reached a tipping point. The Financial Times released a lengthy story titled Xi Jinping's Plan to Reset China's Economy and Win Back Allies on January 10th. The transfer of the loudest wolf suggests that the CCP is trying to de-escalate its battle with the West. Experts and scholars believe that warrior diplomat Zhao Lijian's reassignment to the foreign minister as Deputy Director General for Border and Maritime Affairs is a sign of his marginalization, and that the new foreign minister, former Chinese ambassador to the US Qin Gong, may have made the decision. According to a January 4th Washington Post editorial, the world's future depends on China-US ties. As China's ambassador to the US, Qin Gong visited Missouri corn farmers. He visited Boston and Long Beach to count US-China container shipments. After 3 years of dynamic zero COVID restrictions and internal and external anguish, the China connection will remain open. Beijing has moved from struggle to pragmatism. Yet many Westerners still think that the CCP will be pragmatic about reform and opening up. More Westerners realize that the CCP's shift from one extreme to the other offers no comfort and merely shows how unpredictable policies may be under a communist dictatorship. Japan and South Korea have accused the CCP of adopting a political move unrelated to COVID, but the CCP considers universal ideals the enemy. The Select Committee on Strategic Competition between the US and the CCP is also helping the Chinese people recognize the CCP's crucial role. The Communist Party is a parasite on the Chinese people, and when they split, the leaders lose support because they are worthless. In the current economic depression, many communist member parties are middle class or lower, yet roughly 500 families enjoy all of the party's advantages. The 3-year plague caused by the zero COVID policy, fast opening up, and viral tsunami has made the CCP's people first rhetoric ludicrous. Stop bankruptcy and unemployment universal debt is coming. Let's analyze it. First, in 2022, the epidemic spread closed several industries and reduced the population's consuming power according to public data. 420 million of the 780 million debtors are struggling to pay. According to imperfect estimates, the population is up to $30 trillion in debt, with a per capita debt of almost $20,000. These debts are mostly car loans, house credit, and online loans. Second, the epidemic has caused a substantial rise in debt. The General Administration of Market Supervision reports that over 22 million firms have closed due to the pandemic. By 2021, about 3.5 million organizations and 9 million individual firms would have been liquidated. 460,000 businesses closed in 2022's first half. 400 Starbucks stores in China were closed, and 3.1 million businesses lost their registrations. Internet enterprises' employee cutbacks have hurt small and medium-sized businesses and the education and training sector. 20.7% of SMEs have critical cash flow, suggesting a cash flow crisis. On December 19, 2022, a senior Beijing political and legal official told the Radio Free Asia reporter that he always thought he had huge social resources, but what had happened before his eyes had instantly awoken him to the realization that he was helpless to defend even his own loved ones. The pandemic has killed several seasoned Communist Party cadres, which has angered their families. Hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification before leaving. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.